6 Most Intense Reactions to Not Guilty Verdicts in High-Profile Trials. In this video, we will talk about 6 most intense reactions to not guilty verdicts in high-profile trials. Let's get started. Number 6. Barrison Trial in New Jersey. I hope that the jury will find Kyle guilty. Kyle H.R.I.T. held not guilty passionate emotions when defendants are acquitted on the most serious charge. We are taking a closer look at some of the long crime stories that have been passed down through the generations. Network's top cases that didn't end in a conviction, and the powerful responses from defendants that came with that news. Mr. Foreman has the jury agreed upon a verdict. Industries that verdict unanimous. It is we begin in New Jersey, where one-time Olympian Michael Barrison was charged with multiple counts of attempted murder. Prosecutors alleged Barrison attempted to kill Lauren Canarak and her then-boyfriend Robert Goodwin in 2019 when the pair were living on Barrison's property as he trained Canarak in dressage horseback riding. Barrison's defense alleged Canarak drove him to a mentally unstable state after harassing him for weeks, both in person and on social media. At that very moment, Barrison fired a shot at Canarak and attempted to shoot him. Goodwin both survived the incident, and after several weeks of trial in 2022, a jury in New Jersey reached a verdict in favor of Barrison with relation to count 1 attempted murder of Lauren Canarak. Number 5. Matthew Moore Trial in the Midwest. Moving now to the Midwest, where Matthew Moore was acquitted and tried in the murders of his wife, Emily Noble. Noble's body was found in September 2020 in Westerville, Ohio, months after she was last seen on May 24th of that year. Investigators believe Moore murdered his wife and staged the crime scene to look as though Noble died by suicide. He was charged with 2 counts of felony murder before a jury returned a not guilty verdict. Verdict on count 1. The Dream and Julian panels for and find a defendant, Matthew L. Moore, not guilty of murder, as he stands charged in count 1 of the indictment dated the 26th of August 2022, signed by all 12 members of the panel. Verdict on count 2. The jury being Julian panel and sworn to find the defendant, Matthew L. Moore, not guilty of murder, as he stands charged in count 2 of the indictment dated 26 August 2022 and signed in ink by all 12 members of the panel. Verdict on count 3. We the jury being Julian panel and sworn find the defendant, Matthew Moore, not guilty of felony assault, as he stands charged in count 3 of the indictment dated August 26, 2022, signed by all 12 members of the panel. Number 4. Danielle Redlick Trial in Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, I am unable to adequately express my gratitude for the time and attention that you have given to this court. That is headed south to Florida, where a woman who was accused of murdering her stepdad, who turned out to be her husband, is now free. The state of Florida against Danielle. This is Justine Redlin. In January 2019, Danielle Redlick was charged with second-degree murder in connection with the death of her husband, Michael Redlick, who was 65 years old. Michael Redlick had previously been married to Danielle's mother, which investigators later determined was a ploy to facilitate access to medical care during Danielle's treatment for cancer. Danielle Redlick called 911 saying her husband suffered a heart attack. When first responders arrived, she admitted she'd stabbed him. At trial, Redlick's defense argued she stabbed her husband just once, only out of self-defense. After only 4 hours of deliberation, jurors returned a verdict. Verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So say we all. Signed juror badge number 283, 4 persons. Special finding. This page was left blank. Verdict as to count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of tampering with physical evidence as charged in the information. So say we all. Signed your badge number 283, 4 persons. Stated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on the 17th day of June 2022. And would you please poll the jury? Number 3. Scott Peterson Trial in Florida. Scott Peterson. Find as follows. As to the defendant in this case, the defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale Broward County Court. Also in Florida, former school resource officer Scott Peterson was found not guilty for his response in the Parkland school shooting on February 14, 2018. A gunman opened fire at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, killing 17 people and injuring 17 more. Prosecutors alleged Peterson, the school's SRO, ignored his training when he didn't approach the gunman. He was charged with felony child neglect, culpable negligence, and perjury. The jury handed down a verdict late last month. Verdict count 3. We, the jury, find as follows. As the defendant in this case, the defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict count 4. We, the jury, find as follows. As the defendant in this case, the defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict count 5. We, the jury, find as follows. As the defendant in this case, the defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict count 6. We, the jury, find as follows. As to the defendant in this case, the defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Verdict count 7. We, the jury, find as follows. As to the defendant in this case, the defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Number 2. Daniel Villegas trial in Texas. We, the jury, have decided that the defendant, Daniel Villegas, is not guilty of the crime of murder. When Daniel Villegas is found not guilty, the entire courtroom erupts in jubilation, with applause. Before being released from prison in October 2018, Villegas had been incarcerated for a total of 23 years. Villegas was arrested in 1993 when he was just 16 years old for the killings of Armando Mondo Lazo, who was 17 years old, and Bobby Ainland, who was 18 years old. Villegas was convicted of the murders in his second trial after his first ended in a hung jury in 2007. He was granted a third trial based on ineffective counsel in his second trial. Just days after that third trial began, Villegas' jury returned a full acquittal in the District Court of El Paso County, Texas, 409th Judicial District. The State of Texas versus Daniel Villegas, number 9,409,328 verdict. According to Form B, the jury unanimously decides that defendant Daniel Villegas is not guilty. Juror number 3, Mr. Flotis, is this the verdict you have reached? Are you, Miss Rocha, the fourth member of the jury to reach a verdict? Do you consider this to be your verdict, Mr. Contreras? Drill number 5, is this the verdict that you came to during number 6, Mr. Miranda? This is your verdict, Mr. Paz, and you are number 7. Ms. Luma, is this the verdict you have reached? You're number 8. Is this the verdict that you have reached, Miss Gonzalez? Juror number 9, omission. This is your verdict, Mr. Hunt, and you are the 10th juror. Mrs. Blito, is this your 11th word? And there's Bloom. Is this your verdict? And is this juror number 12? Is this it, Miss, your conclusion? Yes, sir, the court does find this to be the verdict of the jury and will be accepted as such. Number 1. Kyle Rittenhouse trial. One of Kyle Rittenhouse's long crime network's most watched trials ended in a powerful not guilty verdict when 18-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted on all counts. He faced the jury and hearkened to its in August 2022 unrest broke out in Kenosha, Wisconsin, after the shooting of Jacob Blake. Blake, who is black, was shot by a white police officer amidst the unrest. The then 17-year-old Rittenhouse armed himself with an AR-15 rifle and shot 3 men. 2 were killed, and the third was injured. The defense of Rittenhouse maintained that he acted out of fear for his life. And after several days of deliberation, The jury came up with a verdict that was favorable to Rittenhouse. Regarding the second count of the information, H. Rickhouse is not guilty of the charges. According to Richard McGinnis, the jury has decided that the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse is not guilty of the third count of the information unidentified male. Additionally, the jury has decided that the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse is not guilty of the fourth count of the information. A. Huber, Anthony about the fifth count of the information. We, the jury, have decided that the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, is not guilty. The Rose Court's Caliber Kyle, the defendant, is found guilty by the jury. According to the jury, Kyle H. Rickhouse is not guilty. Are these your unanimous verdicts? Do you think there is anyone who disagrees with the verdicts as they have been read? Would you like the tree to be removed? All right. Okay, folks, your work is finished for all of the most recent verdicts, trial coverage, and true crime updates. Stay with Long Crime Network for reporting on Long Crime Network. Sierra Gillespie is my name. So this is the end of our today's video. Do you like it? Kindly give your valuable response in our comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting and informative videos.